YouTube.
Hello, YouTube.
Hello, camera. I am Tanya, the sister. Oh, brother. Oh my god, shit! Oh my god! I wasn't expecting you to do that. Okay, what if there was like a policeman? What would happen? Would you get in trouble?
As long as you're not speeding, it's probably fine.
Were you speeding?
No.
I felt like you were speeding. Oh, shit. Where have we stopped? Oh, no! Oh my god! Do you know what you should do? You should put Mum in here.
Should we put Mum in here?
Oh my god! She would cry.
What about putting some money on the dashboard, and if you can reach it, you can get to keep it?
Let's do it.
Do you reckon you can reach it with something on there?
Yep.
I don't think I've got any money on me.
No, there's probably like... Oh my god! Those people coming towards you must have been like, what the f is he gonna do? Oh, my hands are shaking!
Alright, just got back, so now I'm going to make an attempt to do my little mini review. Now I'm probably going to get most of it wrong, so if I do, then you can correct me down in the comments. So it's a Lamborghini Huracan Performante, whatever that says there. I'm not really sure how you're supposed to pronounce it in Italian. So starting off at the very front, it's got this thingamajig on there called ALA, A-L-A. Stands for something like aerodynamic Lamborghini, something like that, God knows. But it's got these little flaps in here, look. I'm not sure if you can see them, but they can move up and down as you do different speeds. So if you can imagine, if you're doing sort of high speeds, you want less downforce so you can go faster. This is what I've been told anyway. I might be completely wrong. So the flaps are sort of kind of like in the whatever position, lets the air go over the car easier, which means you get a little bit more top end. But then when you come into the corners, the flaps open or close or whatever they do to give you more downforce when you're in the corners. But the clever thing about it is that you can do it independently. So it can sort of put more grip on whatever wheel it kind of thinks it needs more grip, and that's what made it do like the Nürburgring lap record like a year ago or something like that. So then we're coming along to the side. So this is actually an option to have these centre lock wheels. Normally they come with just 5 bolts in there. It's got a nice little centre lock thingamajig there, so one nut, just like an RC car. Take this nut off and the whole wheel comes off. And these are like 6 piston calipers, and it's got these carbon ceramic brakes. And the idea of these is so that the brakes work good when you're going fast and when you're going slow. The only downside is they're expensive. So if you knacker one of these, they're about 10 grand. But apparently they last the life of the car, so hopefully that shouldn't be a problem. So then coming along the side, you can kind of tell the difference from this and a regular Huracan is that it's got these Italian stripy things on the side here. Coming over to the back, almost the same. Discs are slightly smaller. We've got 4 piston calipers here, and I'm guessing this here is for the handbrake. And coming over to the back, we've got this spoiler thing on the back here, and it's all made out of this sort of forged carbon stuff. And I think the idea behind that is because the normal carbon fibre, you can't really make it into these sort of intricate shapes. So this stuff here, they just mush a load of it together, bond it all together, and they can make it into any shape they like. And this is actually hollow on the inside. So it's got this ALA thing on the back here as well. So what I think happens is the air comes down here, it goes into these scoopy thingamajigs here, and the air goes through the wing, and then when you want to go fast and you want less downforce, all the air can come out under these slots here. And then when you come into a corner and you need more downforce, there's flaps that close in there. I'll show you them in a minute, and then this can just sort of work as a regular wing. So the other difference of this one here over the regular Huracan is that they've completely redesigned the whole rear end. So they've moved the exhausts up. The regular one has got the exhaust kind of in the corners there. On this one here, they've got all this aerodynamic stuff going on. They've put the exhaust up here, probably saves a little bit of weight as well. And that's another thing that they've spec'd on this car, is that it's got these chrome exhaust tip thingamajigs. Alright, so to get in, you just kind of got to press your finger on there. Once it pops out, you just yank it like that, and in you get. So looking on the inside, this car's pretty much got all the options. It's pretty much got every single spec you can think of. It's got like the Just a better radio in there. I mean, I didn't spec all this stuff. I bought the car used. It's a year old, but the bloke that bought this before, he literally went to town with it and bought every single spec going. So he's got like a £3,000 stereo in here and a whole load of other crazy stuff. You can see more of this dark chrome stuff going on here and in there. This one's got the bucket seats in it. A lot of people don't like these because they think they're uncomfortable, but I think they're pretty good, and I think they look better in these than the normal seats. But they're pretty comfort enough for me. So looking at the inside also, we've got more of this carbon fibre stuff here, more carbon here. These paddle things are carbon fibre. The dashboard and the roof and pretty much everything else in here is all covered in that Alcantara stuff. And the pretty cool thing is once you're in there, if you look out the back window, you can see the engine through there as well. So to start it up, which I'm not going to do because we're indoors, you've got to press and hold this button while you've got your foot on the brake. But if you just press that once, that gets the ignition turning on. And you see this sort of cool display thing going on in there. And then you've got your different driving modes down here. So you've got Strada, and in that everything's quiet, the exhaust is quiet, the suspension's nice and soft. And you can change, making a racket. So, alright, so that's in Strada mode, so everything's nice and slow and comfortable and soft suspension and not much noise. And then you can flick that down to sort of sport mode and Corsa mode. So if you put that into sport, then you can see like the dashboard changes a little bit. Not by that much, and then you put it into Corsa, and then you get that cool sort of rev counter going along there. So when the engine's cold, it's got like a 6,000 RPM red line. But as it warms up, then I think it goes to around about 8,500. So to change gear, you've got these paddly thingamajigs here on either side. And if you pull them both together, that puts it in neutral. But you can drive this car in automatic in these other two modes. In Sport and Strada, you can drive it in auto. But the minute you put it into Corsa, then everything is manual, and you've got to do all of it on these paddles here. Now, if you want to do a launch control, and that's what got my sister a little bit scared, you've got to first turn off the traction control, which is this thingamajig here. And that tells you in there that the traction control's off, obviously with the engine on. Then you put your left foot on the brake and hold that down. And then with your other foot, you just floor the gas. You just hold that all the way down. And then like it will say up on there like launch control activated or something. The minute you let go of the brakes, that's it. It just sort of kind of rockets off. So we've got a few more switches going on here. So we've got the windows here up and down. This one here lifts the nose up and down. That's actually pretty handy because if you come up to like a speed hump or something like that, that lifts the nose up. It lifts it pretty high. I've actually not scraped this anywhere yet. It's got over all the bumps in the road and everything so far. This turns the traction control off, hazard warning lights. This thing here, I think, is the parking, is it? Yeah, it's got parking sensors on the back there, which is pretty handy. This here does... that's automatic engine start stop thing, so we don't really want that. That's annoying. So we always turn that off, and then that's the driver's side window there. To stick it in reverse, all you got to do is just lift up this lever there, and that is it. We're in reverse. And then if you want to go back into drive, you just pull the paddle here, and that puts it back into first gear. Also, when you get out, you have to hit this P button to put it into park. And the handbrake is just this little thingamajig here. So you push that down, that's handbrake off, and you pull it up, that's handbrake on. But you've got to put your foot on the brake for it to do anything. So to get into the front, it's got a little button here. So you can either press that, and that opens the front. It's also got a button on the key fob, so you can do it from there if you want as well. So storage-wise, you don't really get that much space in here. So that is pretty much all you get when you're in the front here, look. I mean, it's got a few bits and bobs in there, but you're not going to get much in there at all, really. So maybe a really small suitcase. I mean, looking back inside, you do get some space in your door pockets here. You get a little bit of storage space under there to put like maybe a phone or some keys. And also on here is a little bit of space to put a phone or something like that. And behind the seats, there's a tiny little bit of space. You can probably put a backpack there or like your coat or something like that. So to have a look at the engine bay, there's another little button over here. I think you've got to have the ignition on in order for that to work. So this is a V10 engine, 5.2 litre, and it's pushing out, I think, 631 horsepower, something like that. So you can see here, you can see these flappy things. So I'll try and get you in there. Look, you can see that flap. So that's what makes it all go up here, and you can change all the downforce, all that stuff like that. So luckily, there's not really much maintenance that you got to do on these. You pretty much just drive them, do your yearly service, and then that is pretty much it. You don't really have to check your oil. You don't really have to do anything in there. It soon lets you know in the dashboard if something's going on, and that suits me because when it comes to maintenance, I'm lazy. Also, you see more of this forged carbon fibre stuff everywhere in here. All this stuff here, that's all carbon fibre too. The window here is made of plastic, probably to save some weight. If you want to fill it up, super easy. You just press it there, There's no cap or anything, you just fill it straight up. And you're supposed to run it on super unleaded, you know, the more octane the better. But if all there is regular unleaded, then it's fine, it works too. So visibility wise, when you're sat inside, is not too bad actually. I mean, you get some good visibility out of the front there. I mean, this car's a lot wider than a normal car, so it took a little bit of getting used to of where the wheels are and all that. But actual driving it, super duper easy, especially when you got it in Strada. It's so easy to drive. It's just like driving any other normal car. I mean, you wouldn't think you're in a supercar when you're just driving it around normally.